Brother Irwan, Jazakallah khair, you did a good job. We have been coming to your Muktamar since dollars. And we really indebted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to all of you for supporting us. This is for me. I came here, I think you came here to learn and also to socialize, but I came here for 3 reasons. One is a story of a young lady, she's 9 years old. Her name is Manduna Ahmed Noor. She walked 350 kilometers. On the way, her mother and her parents died. Her mother and her father died. She's 9 years old. She has a 2-year-old brother and a 4-year-old sister. And our new foundation, alhamdulillah, with the help of journalists, with people like you, to take care of it. So that's really a story that touched for me in 2017. If you look at this brochure also, they say his name is Abdullah, it's on the second page. Very good looking. If you can open that, his name was Abdullah. His name is Abdullah. And we found him next to a dumpster. He's now 2 years old. He's in
AMOUD. So I think
last year, like the video said, 2017, the war was drowned in Somalia. Over 65 years, we haven't seen this drop. And some of you, alhamdulillah, don't understand between you and the food. But I really want you to make dua for us. We come here and we're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're grateful to you, we always open your heart. But one other reason, brothers and sisters, that we come to you all the time is, of all those missionaries, we give them a message of hope, that there are brothers and sisters who care about you. And this money, this food came from my Muslim brothers in North America. And when we tell them that, they really some people care us in the United States. They're not Somalis, they're not from Africa, they are Muslim brothers from Malaysia, from Indonesia, from everywhere in the world who are in North America, who care and support you. So that's a message of hope that we give them, that there are people who care about you. So those are the 3 items that we really came to you. We want to thank you. Jazakumullah khair. I really want to shout out to the organizers for this event. Please make dua for them. Please make dua for all the volunteers. Please make dua for our brothers, whether it be Ibrahim who's back there helping us, whether Irwan, whether Ibrahim, and other brothers who came here and helping us. And we always look forward to seeing you again, inshallah, next year. Please and please, make dua for us. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Baba.
Itu live streaming. PowerPoint. Hah? Ya, itu aja.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Send that to me. Rise up.
And ask us any questions like that to meet us because we don't allow people to ask questions. It's a private question sometimes. So what happens is that they can come to see us after to ask verbal questions. That will be fair.
Okay, got you. Okay, I will let the staff know that.
Dah makan dah?
Oh, is that your
Granddaughter.
granddaughter? Hi.
Yes, her name is Alpha.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi.
Her name is not granddaughter. Her
Okay.
status is granddaughter.
Okay.
Udah ya, oke. Pakai ya mixer ya. Ini di interlocken api jadi nggak saya ubah dari tadi. Oke. Ya, makasih.
We already on time.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay, because they have these image on the other room too.
Oh, no, it's this one.
Ini I take picture of you, ah.
Oh,
Moderator. Okay, smile.
thank you, Kak.
Good job.
If it's possible, we want to ask the audience to come forward.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So that then we can be more interactive.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I will let you.
Boleh up the light sikit tak? Nanti kau semua tertidur.
Yeah, I will share my first. This
But the light is there is the spotlight here. Dia shoot dekat situ pula.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Dear ladies, we will have our seminar right this and after this. And if you don't mind, can you please fill the first row? And then you can go up to the rocks because we would like to prefer you to sit near the stage. Gotta be like more interactive for the seminar. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, okay. Good to see you. Apa apa?
We suggest that you don't have to spend too much time on our background introduction.
Okay, sure. Yeah, just like go briefly.
Brief. It's good. It's good.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sister.
Whenever you're ready to start, we will
Yeah. Oh, okay. I took one piece of paper. No, it's fine. It's fine. Please, I need to scribble anything. Okay, sure. Nanti saya jawab saya Pak Agung di sini ya berarti. Oh, maaf. Ya, jadi nanti saya ke Pak Anton di sini. Pak Anton atau di sebelah mana ya?
Saya di sini.
Oke.
Atau Pak Faisal bisa.
Oh ya. Sip, ini pertanyaan minta ditulis.
Iya.
Mau dimulai jam berapa ya Pak? Belum. Sekarang aja. So, walaupun belum penuh. Okay, we'll ask them. Thank you. Oh yes, yeah, I love the snow. Yeah, oh, you like the snow? It's cold, but everything looks so pure.
Agree.
Lovely, it's lovely sight.
Yes.
Do you live here?
Oh, I live in Silicon Valley, California.
Oh, Silicon Valley, do you work there?
Yes, I work there.
Allah.
Yes.
How far is it from here?
Like 2 hours flight.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's quite far. 2 hours
Yeah.
flight is quite far. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to wait for another 5 minutes or we just get it on? 5 minutes is okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Did you fly? Do you flew from Kuala Lumpur?
Yes, yeah. We came, we arrived on the 12th. Yeah.
How was it?
Flight?
Yeah.
It was okay, tiring.
20 hours.
Long flights, yeah. Yeah, more than 24 hours. Oh, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Went well.
Okay, sure.
Ada mic yang wireless ya? It's a mix, I think, of
Itulah.
it's okay, can leave it on this one.
Sister, this is working.
Nak pakai ya?
Cep.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
I know it's after lunch, but I need to hear a louder. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Yes, so we are now here, obviously, for our seminar, which is it's Cool Mom and Super Dad Leadership in Parenting, and we have our awesome speakers today. I would like to introduce to all of you. First is Mr. Ahmad Fahri, he is a certified professional trainer and various diversity and inclusiveness programs covering themes that include parenting, fatherhood, youth leadership, and communication skills. And also, we have his wife, actually, Puan Jamila Samian. So, Puan Jamila Samian is the author of Leadership in Parenting, Cool Mom and Super Dad, also Cool Boys, Super Sons. She is also a certified professional trainer CBD from Malaysian Institute of Management. Puan Jamila also is a part of team parenting experts at Parent Hots, the Star. So, without further ado, please take the stage for Mr. Ahmad Fahri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Kita bermuktamar dulu dan kini. Tema muktamar sudah disepakati. Cool Mom Super Dad, inspirasi kami agar semua family sentiasa diberkati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yang saya hormati pengerusi majlis, moderator kita, dan yang saya raikan tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang hadir, yang especially struggling to get your oxygen between the brain and the stomach due to the nasi lemak. You will be urged with 1.5 hours, and the program can be well benefited if we all participate and involve, because this is very an engaging session. We have done this in London, in Middle East, in Australia, and the last one we did was in Japan. First and foremost, I like you to recognize this particular aspect of species. And they normally come during parenting program. And it is the phenomena throughout the world. And they are known as the man, the male. So can all of you quickly give me a round of applause to the gentlemen here who have been brave enough to be here. Come on, give them a round of applause for wanting to be together in raising the children and the family. Alhamdulillah. The second thing I want you to do, you give me a high five to me. Can you give me a high five to me now? I'm giving you a high five. Try once more, because I need to hear something. Once more. Okay. If you do high five just now, did you hear any sound? No. Unless you high five your partner by your side. Can you do that now? High five your partner by your side? Yes. Sakit, yes, yes. Sakit dahulu, baru juga senang-senang kemudian. The reason I'm saying that, tepuk tangan sebelah tak akan berbunyi. It takes two to tango, which means raising family requires the involvement of these two special individual known as mother and father. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot do if you're alone. I have two legs now to support me. Can I still stand with one leg? I can. Because I want to salute the single mom or the single dad who has given their strong encouragement to raise their children irrespective of the condition and the environment. So let's give them also a round of applause for being here together with us. This is a special topic because this topic came from our latest book. And I'll just have to describe to you why both Jamila and I have the reason to share our experience and the reason why we want you to understand or at least be aware so that then the future of our ummah and the humanity can become much better than where we are now, because our belief is to raise our children as the future leaders. So first and foremost, both Jamila and I, we studied here in America in 1980 to 1984. I'm from Fresno, California. I studied my bachelor in engineering, and Jamila is a computer science in Terre Haute, Indiana. And we got married here during the MISG convention in, we didn't get married here. Let me correct that. We met during the MISG convention, the 6th convention in Houston, Texas, in Hyatt Regency. And today is our 33rd anniversary. It's a long, long journey, ladies and gentlemen, especially to the young folks who've just got married. Okay, I work in a multinational as an engineer. She works in a computer science. We work in Sarawak, and in Sarawak, we got two boys. We got two boys in Sarawak. The first one was the one that gave her pantun, but did not complete on day one of our Muktamar. And we got our second boy, and so we continue, and I changed my career after working in Shell, still working in the same multinational, into human resource. From engineer to human resource. So I'm a human engineer, basically. Jamila changed her career to become an author. She loves writing. So she has a blog, Facebook posting, and she focused on parenting. And we then finally work in overseas. So we knew the challenge of our children who are in the international school in a different culture. And then obviously we came back. So we got 2 in Sarawak, 1 in Port Dickson, 2 in Shah Alam. How many already? 5, right? And 1 in Oman. So one secret for those of you who wants to get lots of children, keep moving. Denver, Houston, and if you can't afford, then change different rooms. Upstairs, downstairs. If you can't afford, then change your bed location then. So after in the multinational for 26 years, I decided to join this noble cause with my wife. And the reason is, number one is because I think if the presence of the fathers are there, you would solve 50% of the juvenile delinquency problems that we are facing now. Second is, I greatly believe when the father is involved, then you are actually developing your own talent from home. How many of you work in the multinational around here? Or in any companies that you have? You are talking about talent, right? You want talent because they are the future for the organization. But if they are not being raised right from home, you can't have that talent in the organization. At least you want to train them to become a reader before they become a leader, because a leader is a person to continue. Now, moving on, so I got 6 children. You probably have met the first one now. So he's here together with the wife, and they are in Nashville. And we missed the second, 4th grandchild picture there. The second one, so that's the first one. The second one, I wanted to mention the second one. He is the number 2, and in this book by Jamila, Cool Mom, Super Dad, this boy ran away from home at the age of 14 years old. Not easy. He has his own dreams. We had to really manage expectation from one of us, between the two of between us. And he finally then came back. He finally continued and pursued. We sent him to Australia. We want him to learn about knowledge there, but he found someone there. So he is the first one who got married, and it is a mixed marriage with a Yemeni descendant girl who are an Aussie born, who was born in Aussie. So you can see now there is one dimension already in terms of the challenge. The third one, the only girl, her name is Alia, Dr. Alia, married to a doctor. Alia, one of the things that you will probably face is that she has issues about finding where is her future professions. She loves doodling, or in their language, which is drawing for us, and he loves to help people to become a doctor. If you were the parents, what would be your suggestion to her? Doctor, right? No doubt about it. But the challenge is, can you combine the profession and the passion? So she continued to to take her studies in medicine, and on her final year before she graduated, she saw the struggle of her friends in going to hospitals during their clinical stage. So what she did was she wrote wrote her book about performing physical examination and introduction to preclinical students using the Gen Y with color coding and all the things. The book is already been published for the 3rd time, sold around more than 12 other countries around the world, and she has now continuously provided. I have a reason to tell why this, because when I said to them, whatever profession you take, you are just not going to be another statistic. You have to have impact in that particular profession. The 4th one, he's of course now he completed in UIA Islamic University as a computer science. He has one of the challenge of finding what he wants to do. He can almost take up anything. When you ask him at an early age, he was saying that to me, Dad, I want to become a kindergarten teacher. For a boy who is really going to be the head prefect in his secondary school, how is your response? Do you laugh, or do you try to belittle, or do you support that? And that is the reason why for each and every one of the children, one of my method is to have what I call a one-to-one session with these children. So I took him for a one-to-one session, especially for them, in the favorite restaurant. He loves to see the mountain, and we went up there, only me and him. That's where we discussed his career. The fifth boy, he's now in Mexico for his third appearance in the World University Debating Championship, representing the Islamic University. He is ranked number 6 in Asia, and the recent one, he was ranked number 3 in the British Parliamentarian for the whole of Australia and Asia. But he doesn't start with that way. He starts early in the morning with stomach ache and headache, and I'm not feeling well for almost half of the year. So what did you do as parents? Your remarks early in the morning before they go to school? Why are you not like your other siblings, right? And that's the first thing that we as parents should not have done. To compare our children with anyone else, especially the siblings. Because you are going to create the sibling rivalries. Permusuhan atas pandangan dan pendapat kita. But we continue. This boy, when struggled, he had some real issue medically. He's not going. Jamila told the teachers, if this boy is tired and sleepy, give him the pillow behind and he can sleep. We pulled him out from the school, and he had to do homeschooling. He went to all the website, Khan Academy, to improve his knowledge. One of the things that I introduced is the joy and love of books. So we have what I call the book competition in the house. There's a whiteboard, all the 8 names are there, and all you got to do is read as many books, and then I will pay you cash 100 ringgit, no tax. This boy, he read about 482 titles during that 1 year period. So the competition gets tougher the following year, but they asked me, can we not try and shorten it? And I said, no problem, 6 months, but 50 ringgit. And they were happy with it. And of course, Safi did his 520 over books for 6 months, and Alia was the uncontested winner. My reasoning is because he developed his habit of reading, this boy, and I want to encourage you to get the children to love books. And slowly he built up his career as the debater representing his university. Because why? I think all of us has our challenge with the children. And sometimes not all children will become intelligent, high achiever at the beginning. It takes time for them. They are like the late bloomers. All you got to do is from where they are until where they are now is to support and believe in them. And there is one secret that I wanted to mention when I asked one of the participants in Putrajaya. She had 12 children. And I said, Makcik, boleh tak Makcik share apakah rahsia Makcik menjaga anak-anak ni? She had only one word. Sabar je lah. Exactly the same word uttered by Prophet Yaqub, kan? Fasabrun jamil. Sabar itu adalah yang lebih cantik. So that is my message. Finally, the final boy who is born in Oman, he started his career as a cookiepreneur at the age of 3 years old. He went to his mother's, and the first thing what we bought was the 200 experiment book. So what he really loves is all the experiment thing. Mixing waters, mixing stuff, and mixing all these things. He could create his own, concocted his own formula after looking at the internet, made his own cookies at 10 years old. Now what happened, his childhood friend went to Johannesburg, South Africa to do their hafazan, the hifz. So he wanted to go there, or rather I asked him, would you like to visit your friend in Johannesburg? And he said, yeah, why not? I love it. But I said, no, I'm not going to pay you any cent. So the mother said to him, why don't you start selling cookies? So at 10 years old, he comes to this kind of program together with us, the seminar of Al-Maghrib and all those things, and stood up and said, ladies and gentlemen, please buy my cookies. I'm buying my ticket to fly to Johannesburg. 2 years later, he collected 4,000 ringgit, and we had to fly to become the baggage carrier for him to visit his friend in South Africa. I wanted to say this is because I think our children are so unique that if we allow them and empower them, you cannot see and cannot imagine the kind of talent do they have. Sharif was waiting for his at home at 15 years old. He already read the book by Plato known as The Republican, but he's already got a contract to do a programming from a company in Perth, Australia. So at that age, the children, not unlike of our era, are not the same like what we have always imagined. So as I said, Jamila and I, we capture all those things in our books as we go along. But after making about 4 books, Cool Mom Super Dad was her first book, because we have 5 boys. We have Cool Boy Super Son, and then this is the 123 ideas of how we connect to the Gen Y, the Gen Z, and the Gen Alpha in terms of those who are breathing the internet as their oxygen. I mean, without internet or Wi-Fi, they cannot breathe. Do you know that, these children? So, but the book that we finally wrote was, Jamila, after writing all the books on parenting, it's time to write about marriage. And we have a good reason for that in our model. So it's called the kindness miracle. The reason why I'm sharing to you this is because from this experience, then we look at what exactly parents are looking for when they raise children. And I know you have a unique situation in the country where it is not a Muslim environment. So I had that question out there just now from one sister in Indonesia, which I will share shortly. But the basis of why we pull this parenting from just raising children, boys and girls, is into something much more higher than that. And it stems from this ayat. Whatever it is, if you do go back along the way as you drive the interstate highway, please memorize this particular ayat Al-Furqan. It's very easy. So follow me. Rabbana, oh Lord, ya Tuhanku, hablana, grant us, min azwajina wa zurriyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. So from asking to have wives and children, and then so that then they have the coolest of the eyes, the ultimate reason why we are raising and having this family is imama, lil muttaqina imama. So that is the basis of why we believe that raising children, raising our own progeny is about raising leadership, raising the leaders. Again, it's consistent when Allah have that dialogue with the Malaikah about I want to bring the Khalifatul Ard. That is along that spirit. So we then look at this and then look at the model. So, okay, I won't bore you too much, but I just wanted to give you the high level. The first level, as a pre-requirement of having this ultimate outcome of your parenting, the first one is marriage. So we have a 1 full day program on marriage, which we want mothers and fathers and husband and wife really solidify. The book here, Kindness Miracle, is about falling in love with your spouse every day. Is it possible? It sounds scary by some of the brothers, here. So, but is it possible? Yes, it is possible. It can be done. I sincerely believe, this is my personal belief, that marriage is made in Jannah. Am I right? Because the union of Adam and Hawa happens in Jannah, right? And Allah, by the way, did not create Hawa together with Adam. It is only later when Adam wants some companionship. Allah could have just created both together. That is some learning from there. And by the way, when Habil and Qabil was born, it was not done in Jannah. He was in the earth. So my sincere belief is that if the marriage is made in Jannah, and all of us will go to Jannah, when we are in the earth, we have to make our marriage like Jannah. Otherwise, it's going to be hell. And that's what we do not want, because for the last 10 minutes that I'm talking, already 6 couples is divorced in Malaysia. That's what's happening now. I am against a crusade with the Iblis, because for them, the topmost best employer of the year is for those Iblis who are going to make divorce between couples. That's the first challenge for us to build. The second one is, as you grow, as you have that family become husband and wife, the need for you have to have that physical support then. So in terms of the house, in terms of providing the food, in terms of protection. So it's a long subject in terms of just physical aspect. And we're moving on into the third level. Third level is something that you and I would do, but not that considered and holistically. Because there are 5 dimensions I wanted to mention in terms of nurturing the children, which is from this, both from the aspect of intellectual, emotional, spiritual, social, and the physical aspect. So I think this is a subject that is needs a longer time, but in the name of comprehensiveness, I just wanted to mention that we as parents has that responsibility to provide this connection for our children. I know we always say that, well, I can send to the teachers. Some of us will give to the maid if you can afford a maid. If we can't, then we give to the iPad or gadget to look after our children. But my advocacy is that you cannot run away from your role to have and get these children connected in terms of who will tell them about how to pray, what is the akhlaq of a Muslim, who will tell them how to meet people socially in the right manner, how to be assertive against bullies, who would have to talk about how to manage your emotion because of some mental depression as our children goes to the different stages. This is the aspect, and I'll just leave you one simple way that my Sheikh explained to me, Sheikh Yawar Beg, and he uses this concept called the integrated thematic knowledge from the Quran. He said when children goes to school, they learn the subject in a very vertical manner, right? You learn maths, physics, chemistry, biology, all in the vertical manner. But the Quran, the theme in the Quran, not necessarily in this vertical, but it's also horizontal. Who connects all this individual knowledge into an integrated one? So he gave an example. When you think about a river, and which is mentioned, min tahtihal anhar, so that one talks in the Quran, am I right? So the Quran talks about river. What about the Quran talks about, what about the hadith that talks about river? Is how to take the wudu and you don't membazir pada mengambil air wudu, and the aspect of river from the prophetic tradition. And then from the fiqh, you can teach your children, and I brought my children to one of the resort in Janda Baik in Malaysia where there is a river front, and I asked him, how many kind of water can you get when you take your wudu? And the river water is one of them. What else can you talk about in the other aspect of subject in this, is whether it's the worldly subject or whether it's also the ukhrawi subject? You can relate water, whether in the form of legal or physics or chemistry, and you choose anything any theme in the Quran that you could relate as part of your conversation. Do that either while you are traveling from one location to the other, because the Prophet used that when he was with the young Sahaba riding onto the horses, which means they talk about some aspect to stimulate the intellectual mind of the young ones. I just wanted to finish the model. Here we go, level 4 now. Once you have connected them, their needs, level 4 is about developing their personal aspiration. Many of us will have that. Am I right? When your children grows, as they were doing their subject and achieving, we will have a deal with them. Am I right? What is the deal? Deal, doctor, engineer, accountant, architect, or lawyer. This is the deal. Nowadays, children wants to become YouTuber. We were in Dubai and this guy wants to become Muhammad Ali. We had a program in Al-Khor. This guy wants to be an F1 for. So how do you reconcile these needs of this passion that the children have? What is your role to give them the opportunity to really discover their real talent? Not because you have your agenda, not because we had the struggle of, inshallah, one boy, 12-year-old, he wanted to commit suicide because his mother want him to become a hafiz and the father wants to become an engineer. He wants to become a footballer. So how do you reconcile this struggle amongst the young ones? Because their aspiration may not be in line with you. But that's something that I want you to think. But the last one is the aspect of once they are up there, inspire them to become the leader as part of their impact to the humanity. Now I know you say leader, to become the Prime Minister or the President of Indonesia, there's only one position. Yes, if you can nurture them, do so. They can become the United Nations Secretary to replace the current one, why not in the next 10 years? But the other aspect that you can is the passion to become leading in their own area. Who is the best economics Nobel Prize winner that we have? That created Grameen Bank, Professor Yunus, who was the best technology, who is heading now in Singapore, that institution, is a lady, Jackie Yang, who is also from Taiwan, and she's a revert. These are the giants in their own. So that's the leader. And if you still can't make your children, because there was one question in Japan who says that, Brother Ahmad, my children may not reach there. I said, look, if you can't get there, then give them the qualities as leaders so that then when people look at them, they will respect the Muslim because of the leadership that they have. That's the model that I want you to think, because today, if you have a conversation with your child, asking you something that they want, versus your mindset thinking them that this is the future leader, the conversation would be different. If they want the iPad or the iPhone and that sort of things, and if you really make the time and effort to develop them, and this is the model that I want you to look at. So these are the proactive approach, 4 different aspects, at 6-0 to 6, 7 to 13, 14 to 21, and 22 and above. And I know most of you would have that challenge for your children who are in that 22 years old and above. Because of the current, most of them have been raised in this environment and situation. So let me just give you a highlights. What is this? This is the age where you become be my nurturer. It's for the children, the world is with the mother. Yes, they have to do the breastfeeding, but you as fathers, for instance, needs to be there, because at that time, that's where the brain is being developed. So, can you just clasp your 2 hands like this? That's the size of your brain. The good news is that, or the bad news, brain for the boys are bigger than the girls. But the good news is that for the girls, although you're smaller, but you are more connected, the corpus callosum. So that's why they get matured faster. So your job and our job as a family now for the boys, because they are not that connected, is to get them connected. This is the age where they do all the readings. You do the bedtime. You know, I asked my son, Ahmad Saifuddin, if you remember me when he was a teenager, if you remember me as the father, what will be the legacy that you will tell your child? First boy, one-on-one. He said, Dad, when we were living in Shah Alam, you came back home and you read us the bedtime story. And after that, we will have the zikir together. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah Wala ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Okay, second one. Can you then have another of your zikir? Then the girl, there was only the three of them when we were Shah Alam, which was older. So then I said, well, is it his only legacy? So I asked now the second boy, the one that's got married to this Australian girl, one-on-one. And I asked him, if the legacy that you remember me, which particular part that you remember me most? He said that it was the zikir moment, the time together. And then the third one was, I asked the girl because I thought the boys have similar wavelength. And the girl repeated the same thing. They don't want you for the whole entire day. But they need that quality time because the spelling of time for children is not T-I-M-E, but is actually L-O-V-E. That's the testimony. Now, the next one is to be my coach. And this is where even the Prophet already mentioned that you need to have that time to coach them on skills. Ajarlah mereka solat pada umur berapa tahun, brothers? 7, right? And kalau you dah do that bit, you don't have to worry about when he say you can rotan or spank at 10 years old. Because you have been doing that, exposing them together when you do your visitation, your travel for them to, how am I on time? Okay, so this is the moment that you, especially for boys, they look up at their father. And I'm asking the father to download the apps of manhood to your younger children, especially the boys. And I know women will do that for the girls. That's that stage. And by the way, that's also the stage that they will be testing you. They want to check what is your value, what's the situation. If you have done well in this 14 years period, then this is where the challenge period, the age of unreason. They have been going through a serious brain rewiring, and Jamila may speak about it. And they also in the situation where their friends is becoming more important. Yeah, you will be challenged. You will be argued. One of the boys challenged us, why can't I go to the mama stall to discuss my project paper in the university with my friends beyond 12 o'clock midnight? I mean, I'm not going to do anything, just 12 o'clock sitting with my friend on the project. So as the head of the family, do you say okay, do you say no? But knowing that you just can't say no, because yes, at the end of the day, you have the power and the prerogative to say no as the father, the head of the family, but you need to now be able to engage and be able, because you can't police them forever in the rest of your life. So Jamila went to this search called the headquarters of police Malaysia in Bukit Aman and asked the simple question, crime rate happen when in Malaysia most of the time? Because he argued at night there's no people driving the car, people are sleeping. And yet that is the highest rate of the crime. And because of that, we make impose no one shall come back beyond no later than 12. And that also I have to do the same to set the example so that then they know we need to reinforce these values to them. This is where they are ready to fly out from the nest. I know some of you leave the children here in this country and some parts of the world that at 18 years old they already leave the house, right? So they are living elsewhere. I sincerely believe that, because some question would say that I lost that 18 years, Cik Mat. I didn't have time. And I said that please do not lose hope, because if you remain positive, mothers has the one biggest weapon that no one has, which is her dua. You must take that positively. Number 2 is that you cannot stop communication. I was in Sydney when one young gentleman, he told me that for the last 20 years I'm not talking to my father because the father insisted that he has to do this. there is the communication gap that we need to really make sure that it continuously happen. So how in your environment, and just to put things into context now, how in your environment where you are not in the Islamic country, you don't hear the azan and the children are not really exposed to some of the way that we want them to have and add in their personal values. I have 5 ways I would like to share, and I know the question will come up. The first one is that, and I got this from a sister who wrote this blog from San Francisco, Sarah Ibrahim. So she, and I then twist it, and then being an engineer, so I compartmentalize it into 5 levels now. Level 1 is, it has to start from you as the role model. Did you give salam when you enter the house? Did you show that this is the value that is so high and paramount for you? Did you say and demonstrate this is what is it? Because they cannot see other role model outside. You have to play that role to show to them these are the values that I value and appreciate, that I'm applying it. The second one is that the condition of the house. So as the head of the family, together with the wife or the spouse, you need to make sure that that house has that Islamic environment. She was just commenting that at least there is the azan of the 5 prayers. At least some physical aspects of the house is reminding them about did you put a corner for prayers area? Did you have a library where you have put books for them to read? So you set in the physical environment of the house so that they feel that the Islamic environment. We had a case when we had a talk with a group of young emerging parents, age of about mid-20s. They grouped together because they believe in one aspect of physical situation of children, and this is a culture called permaculture. See, this guy, he was saying that, look, my children stayed in the in-law's house, parent-in-law, and they cannot satisfy their curiosity. Because why? Everything is, decoration is there. The Pyrex is there, the Coriol is there, all the stuff is there. The children can't move. And yet children are so active in their early age. And then they are so curious. And if they in the house start to look at their uncles and auntie watching the Hindustani and K-pop movie for hours, and then seeing people smoking, they say that this environment is not conducive. So they move out to Sungai Buloh, which is the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur, live in, they made the cabin, and then on that day when we visit the house, this 3-year-old boy was hugging the rooster, ayam, jantan, and he was playing around there and jumping, they built. So it was really the physical aspect. The third thing I want you to look at is how you get the people in the house to provide that Islamic environment. In these 123 ideas that I put, one of the things is about we impose a time that no one should touch the gadget. So it's called Maghrib pause. We pray Maghrib together, pause the whole connection with the outside world, watch 10 minutes YouTube from any sheikh, whether it's Mufti Ming, pick the choice, have some short discussion, and if I don't go and pray Isha out, then have that dinner either before or after. The environment is now being slowly nurtured for them to feel the beauty of what you believe. And then the fourth stage is, I'm now number 3, number 4 now, is where how you as parents can get involved in school. I know it's a challenge to make a birthday card for Christmas card and Santa Claus and that sort of things. Our children faced that when we were in Oman International School. So Jamila and a group of mothers volunteered. So instead of making this, do your card, greetings, but now greet your grandparents. These are some of the ways you could influence the school for them to understand our culture, our tradition, and our values. And the 5th level, working in this environment, I strongly encourage, which I will also continue to ensure my children are exposed, is to support and be with the community. Because it takes a village to raise a child. This community that you have, however small is it, these are the ones who's going to mold and shape the values of the children. Ladies and gentlemen, you try very hard on the first, whichever phase that you can. And you believe that Allah will help you. When my second son ran away, and again, this is for those children who lives 18 years and live outside, and you feel very worried whether are they going to become a good Muslim or not, are they going to pray or not, who are their friends, who are their future spouse and partners. You have that dua. One, you have the community that you get them involved. And number three, I have always have that belief that Allah will send someone to look after your child. Just like in Surah Al-Kahfi, when Prophet Musa alayhi salam, together with Nabi Khidir, they went to straighten the wall because of what? To protect the treasure which was kept for the twins. That was the story of Nabi Khidir and Nabi Musa. It took one prophet and one Nabi to protect from this yatim left by their father. Allah has His own way to protect the children, and inshallah, I think I have already gone beyond my time, because I think the next, this is one of the things that I always encourage, especially for parents. Use whatever technology you can. I always have the family game plan, so that then the family knew that we are trying as much as possible. I did that when we were in Oman. They know indeed in the daily what are the things. You are in control, brothers and sisters, if the children are still in your custodianship. At the weekly, when is the time that you would spend with them? Bundle the things together. I've got kidney cancer 10 years ago. I have to change my lifestyle. So Jamila and I, during our dating that we have, one of the things, ritual that we do in the morning, if you are not fasting, is we do for our swimming together. 20 laps, 30 laps together. But with the children, we make sure we pull them. They knew at the weekly when is the time for them. So we define golden hours, spend time, whether you have your homework or not, this is the time that we will be together. On a monthly basis, the key priority that you need to then be able to say which particular activity that you want to highlight, whether it's visiting the grandparents if you are in Malaysia, or back in your country, or you are visiting the orphanage or the refugees. There are quite a number of things that you could now slowly help to mold the child mindset. And on a yearly basis, that's where you have your family holidays. And by the way, please, mom and dad, husband and wife, you need to block your away day retreat together. Only the two of you. How many, I mean, most of you will go for family holidays, right? Yeah, you go to Umrah together, you visit, Florida together and this sort of things. Continue with that, but I want you to add one more event. Have your romantic retreat with your husband and your wife. Only the two of you. So when I brought Jamila for a start to have a candlelight dinner, not only last night, by the way, last night you have to continue. I hope you have booked it already. I brought her to the KL Tower, the revolving restaurant. It doesn't have to wait during I am sorry date, by the way. The anniversary date or birth date, you don't have to really wait, because you don't know whether you can live all the way until those dates. Bring her there. So we had that, and we told her it was not easy in the beginning to tell mom and dad is going to do dating. But that's the message we want them to know, that you are having that strong relationship. Nothing can wedge between you and your spouse. And what we realized that when Alia got married, one of the first things she did in the next couple of weeks is to book the revolving tower to have the dinner with the husband. So the children sees what you are doing. And when we say the children, is that when whatever age they are now, under normal circumstances, it is about at the age of 25 years old that they come to a bit of their senses. But that journey you have to take, because it's an investment, because your investment to your child is not going to be only in this world, but more importantly is that they are going to make sure that they continue to give you the benefit when you are in akhirat. Because it's the dua of the three things, that is your investment that you have put in. With that, let me just pass on to Jamila, because I think it's not fair to hear from one side of the coin. So, inshallah ta'ala, I'll try to come back if I have got time, and the moderator allows us, if I have time, because I have a passion topic about fatherhood, and that's something that I like to share. Tafaddali mashkuro. Yeah. You sure you got your hands free? Okay. Okay, Jamila is going to do a bit demo, so you need to sort of follow her.
Assalamualaikum, brothers and sisters.
Tak kuat.
I have a favor to ask of you. Please follow exactly as I do.
I took how long?
Please follow exactly as
45 minutes.
I do.
Okay.
Now move your hands.
Fingers.
And fingers as well. We all have been sitting for more than half an hour. So
tap your
in case
lips.
the food, we had a bit of too much food, we are getting a bit sleepy. Hopefully this is going to send more oxygen
So then
to the brain.
tap the thighs. Wrist ke tengah. Okay, go back.
Put your hand on your cheek. What did I say? Thank you, Brother Ahmad. What did I say? Cheek. But what did you see me doing? And what did you do? You put your hands on your chin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. What do we learn from this
Was it okay?
exercise?
Was the session okay?
Yes, brother.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Very good.
Speak louder.
Exactly. None of you were sleepy. Alhamdulillah. I could see that because from those of you who were within my range, I could see that you actually followed what I did. So good news is that you were not sleepy. You were paying full attention, but you did exactly as I did. But what I said was, put your hands on your cheek. But what I did was not incongruent with what I said. I said something else, isn't it? So that's the very thing with our children. The foremost principle of parenting is that you have to become the role model. They don't follow what you say, they follow what we do. Now, following from what my husband has said, we are talking about raising leaders. And of course, there are certain principles that we need to make us effective, all right? So I'm going to share the 4 critical kinds of knowledge that we need to raise our children as leaders. And this is something that we gained from our teachers. Perhaps you have heard of them. They are from Canada, Dr. Ikram and Dr. Ida Bashir. They are also husband and wife team. How many of you have heard of them? The thing is that, brothers and sisters, sometimes it's not something that we already have as we start our parenting journey. In fact, this is true of myself too. I struggled a lot. I did not plan to become a parenting author, let alone a speaker. But the more I went into this journey, I realized that parenting is something that is so important. This is one of the ways where we can raise future leaders for the sake of not only the Muslims, but also non-Muslims. It's for the whole of mankind. Now, the first thing that you need is knowledge of our deen, religion itself. And the easiest metaphor I can think of for these four things is like the four legs of a table. It's a traditional table. We know that some tables these days, it only has 2 legs or even 1 leg. But we are talking about the basic table with 4 legs. If you were to have 4 legs for a table and you take away 1 leg, can the table stand? Possibly. It will wobble, isn't it? Not very steady. What about if you take away 2 legs? Can it stand? Unlikely. All right? So these are the critical kinds of knowledge. And why is it that we are starting with knowledge of deen itself, about Islam itself? Although it does not mean that you have to become an ustaz or ustazah, but at least the very foundation. All right? Because children these days, they are so full of questions, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It is actually nature. Allah has made them that way to be able to establish their identity. And inshallah, it will help them become better Muslims too. One of the conversations that I had with one of my children some time ago was this. He read the Quran and he said, I don't feel like God is being objective, right? You read the Quran and you feel like Allah is mad here and this and that. And imagine if me as a parent was not willing to listen to that kind of honest opinion. And I told my son, you know what, the Quran is the most objective book of all ever written. But I cannot say it with so much emotion. I have to sit down and actually reason with him. Why do I say so? So this is the kind of guidance that we need to do with our growing children, inshallah. All right? Now the second leg that you need is parenting based on your religion, your deen. And I put there your deen, religion, because my husband and I, we deal with a lot of people who are actually not necessarily Muslims. All right? Now, why do we separate between? Why is it that we put that number 1 and then parenting based on our deen? Because I realized that, and this is also true for me, when I first became a parent, I thought that I knew about Islam, which I did. I knew certain things about Islam itself, but I did not know that there was specific practices, specific principles that the Quran and Sunnah have actually taught us when it comes to parenting itself. Did you know that? Maybe some of you do. Maybe some of you are like me, who did not know before this, isn't it? So, when we look at this, this is just one example. Mothers in the Quran. And inshallah, if we have time, Brother Ahmad will share with you about fathers in the Quran as well. About Musa. About that moment when his mother was inspired to put Musa in a basket and let him go in the river, in the raging river. What can we learn from this? What was Musa's emotions at that time, although she had faith with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Was she relaxed? Was she, it's okay, it's going to be all right? But was she like, oh my God, I'm so worried about this boy? Was she anxious? Yes, she was anxious. But what can we learn from this? We know that it's natural to go through moments of anxiety, worry, but in spite of that, we are going to put our faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do what we have to do, isn't it? Of course, there are many other lessons, but briefly, the parents of Maryam, right? They wanted a son or a daughter. A son, but Allah gave them a daughter. What was their attitude? Did they have any regrets? No. It's full of acceptance, isn't it? And it's just not about accepting your child as a boy or a girl. It's accepting that child wholeheartedly, no matter what. Because no matter what, brothers and sisters, every child is a gift. And what it means by that is that if something is not right, when you watch your son or daughter, as we nurture our children, if something is not turning out right, probably we have to increase our knowledge, empower ourselves a bit more so that we understand how to nurture this child who is not doing well. All right? So that's part of the meaning of acceptance. And next, very quickly, we move on to Maryam. Maryam is one of the mothers, yeah? One of the women who we can learn from in the Quran. What is one of the features of Maryam? She is one of the ladies, the sisters, the mothers who is very full of chastity and purity, correct? And yet, when somebody, when Zechariah came to see her and saw the fruit, how did she react? She was full of confidence to say that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that we also learn from the Quran, to be able to raise our daughters with such confidence. It concerns me sometimes that when we raise our sons and daughters, we expect our daughters to be so shy that they are not even able to express themselves. Our daughters should be as confident as our sons are, to be able to speak up when the situation calls for it. Of course, there are many, many other lessons that you can take from here. Now, that is from the Quran itself. What about the Sunnah? How did the Prophet ﷺ deal with the children during his time? We all know that the Quran says that that our Prophet, our beloved Prophet, had the best of akhlaq, isn't it? In Surah Al-Qalam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Verily, O you Muhammad, is of exalted character. Alright? And what does that mean? Even as an adult dealing with children himself, he was very approachable. Anybody could see him and talk to him, so comfortable with him. And this is something that we need to learn as parents. We know that, you and I know that raising children is something that is so serious. And sometimes we take it so seriously that we get all stressed up. You know, we only speak to our children when they do something wrong. And this is one of the first things that I learned about parenting. Not when my first child was born. It was much, much later. When he was a young teenager, I realized that things were not turning out well between him and me. And this is something very, very common, brothers and sisters, among those who are educated. We are educated in everything else except in raising our children. Right? Because we got our degrees, we got our masters, we got our PhDs, and assume that just because it comes naturally, therefore we do not have to learn about parenting. But actually we do need to learn. I still remember the moment, the U-turn that I made with my child, with my son, right? I knew that he was somehow distancing himself from me, and I had problems communicating with him. So I told myself, if I didn't change, most likely 10 years, 20 years from now, we are going to be so far apart. So I began to study a bit on parenting itself. And sometimes when you read so many things, you get overwhelmed, isn't it? You are not sure which one that you have to follow. You get confused. So I told myself, I'll just try something, right? I'll just try this method called positive parenting. You know, you have to catch the children doing something good. So one day, I saw that he had washed the dishes in the kitchen. So I called him down. You know, in Malaysia, we call the first child Along. Along means eldest. So I called him, Along, Along. So he came down and he asked me, Umi, what is it? And he had this worried look on his face. So I put my hand on his back and said, I just want to thank you for washing the dishes. And I smiled. And can you imagine his reaction? he stepped back as though he had seen a ghost. And he said, "Is that all you wanted to say?" I said, "Yes." And I asked him why. He said, "I thought you wanted to say that I did something wrong." Does that sound familiar? Sometimes our parenting is not effective or lack effectiveness. It's not because of lack of love. This is not a question of love, brothers and sisters. We love our children so much, in fact, that sometimes we might not do the right thing or the best thing. All right? So that was my turning point in parenting. And if you are having troubles with your parenting as well, I hope that you, inshallah, will have that courage to actually make that U-turn, inshallah. All right? I wanted to give you some examples as well. From the Sunnah way, we had a look at the Quran, the Sunnah. How did the Prophet win hearts? And when we say about hearts, it's not just about adults. He's so good with children. And I was just telling the mothers who came to our session yesterday that I bet if the Prophet ﷺ was here today, he probably would have caused all the children to leave the iPads, all the gadgets, and the children would turn to him. There was this incident where the Prophet was playing with the sons of Al-Abbas, the three boys, the three sons of a companion, Al-Abbas. Their names were Abdullah, Ubadullah, and Quthair, sons of Al-Abbas. And the Prophet lined them up, the three of them, and the Prophet stepped back a distance, and he told the three boys, "Race to me, run towards me, all right? And let's see who wins. So the winner, I will give him something." So the boys ran to him, and the Prophet hugged them. Do you do that? When you look at that, you say, wow, this is prophetic parenting, right? And I did not learn about this until much later, to be honest. So don't feel bad if you don't know about it either, all right? There's so many things that we don't know. And if we were to look at here, this is what we call now positive parenting, giving attention in terms of gestures, words, and touch. This is what positive parenting teaches us. And yet, even from the story that I shared to you, this is part of child development, right? Knowing the psychology of children. We are always being told by people, you have to give attention to your children. It's back to the basics. And yet, if we look at parenting based on the Sunnah, that was exactly what the Prophet was doing to the children of his times.
We have to finish by 3.
Right? And there was also this example when the Prophet visited his
15 minutes more.
grandsons, Hassan and Hussein. So Hassan asked for a glass of water. And the Prophet went away to get his glass of water. And when he came back, Hussein asked for that glass of water. And the Prophet refused to give Hussein. Have you heard of this story before?
Still have time with me.
So Fatima, the mother, was there, and she said, wow, it looks like Hassan is your favorite.
Yeah.
She said that to the Prophet, right? Because the Prophet refused to give the water to Hussein. But the Prophet said,
for people to ask questions.
That's not true. It's not because he's my favorite. It's because he asked for it first. Now, what lesson do we get from here? Who is older? Hassan. Who asked for the water? Hassan. Who said that? Who was asking for the water after that? Hussein. Sometimes we tell our children, right? It's okay, your little brother asked. Let him have everything. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you were to overdo it, you are not giving the rights of what is due. Whereas Hassan asked for it first. And what I can learn from it, this is roots of sibling rivalry. And sometimes we do it not knowing that what we are doing is actually nurturing the seeds of sibling rivalry. All right? So simple things like at home, The children
after
will
the
fight over toys.
tazkirah
Will
until
tell
dinner,
the
we
oldest.
need to find a place where
Always to
people
give
can come
in.
and sit
You know, you
and
have to share everything. Jahat dah you ni, tak boleh share dengan adik. You know? But there is such a thing as personal belongings versus things that are commonly shared, commonly owned. And even that story from the Sunnah itself tells us that we have to make that difference, isn't it? So if we know better, then we actually will raise children who are very close to us, who respect us, who feel that they are respected, they are loved, they are listened to. And in modern terms, we call it, yes, child development. They call it positive parenting. This is something that is so important because when you're able to nurture a great relationship with our children, it becomes so much easier when they are older, right? They feel that we are giving what is due to them, right? And the last one is actually the environment, the fourth leg. And this is something that I've already shared with parents yesterday about the internet. One of the most important prevailing conditions, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay. I think the time is very short. We have to finish the hard stop at 3 for the closing ceremony. So we've got 15 minutes. I don't think it's fair for me to try and add new thoughts because this subject requires at least 1.5 hours for me. If we have time in the future, I'll dart around the cities in America, San Francisco, Maryland, and all these places so that we will conduct our parenting program and reach out to you if there is the time permit. But I suggest give an opportunity, 1 or 2 questions, and then we will do a closing then, inshallah.
Yes, so yes, so right now we're open for question and answer session. Like, do we have already the written paper that we have, or? What do you want to do? You want to? Basically, we just like take 1 or 2 questions now, like if it's easier. Any questions so far? Mom, Dad? Oh yeah, sure.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Fitra. I'm here from Colorado. I have a question for both of you. I know as a parent, we always encourage them to find the most that they really like it or they're really good at it. But my question is, what will happen if I have my number one? She's 11 years old. She's a very energetic and active. She's kind of the girl who capable to do everything. But my problem is to make her focus in one thing. She always keep changing her mind from, for example, from swimming, even she's already in a good swimming team. In the 6 months later, I don't like it. I wanted to try soccer. So, I mean, as a parent again, we always encourage, we'll say, I will never tell her to stop, but just give me one. How do I react? I know it has to be sabar, but time is limited. You need to find something that you're really good at it, or otherwise you will be never good at in one thing. So
okay, let's get one more person, one brother, for instance, if you have any question before we respond to 2. Anyone? Okay. You can respond.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
I have a question. How do you make your kid open up to you?
Oh, how to make the kids open up to you?
Exactly, especially boys.
Okay, I'll respond to that.
Thank you.
Every action, there is a reaction. That's Newton's law. And I think in boys, they have their own personality, by the way. And some are a bit more shy, introvert, while others are a bit more extrovert. Okay, and there is something that I have learned because I have 6 children. I'm very curious, and there is a theory called birth order theory, which I don't really believe, but I look it as a guide because the way we raise our children is how they are positioned in their pecking order. The first one, the second one, the third one, and so on. First one, you give all the tasks to him. Am I right, or her? Take care of the young ones while we are out. Throw the rubbish and this sort of things. First one is greatly under pressure. And if you don't give the opportunity for them to open up and have that one-to-one discussion, then they will just comply and then just go on with it. What happens if you have more than 1 and 2? So typically, number 3 or the youngest one gets lots of attention, right? So the third one normally also gets lots of the attention and do away, and that's where the elders will say, Mom and Dad, you're very soft with them, you're very hard with us. So sometimes they will see that children raised in the same family but seems like in the different parent. And in this particular theory, the second one typically gets the lowest deal because everything comes from second hand. You know, they will always ask, how come my photo is not there? You know, it's always the photo of the big brother or the youngest. So I want us to be very mindful and conscious. We treat each and every one of them equally. Boys, they sometimes, men in general, they're not that emotionally having that relation. You know, the women, they can express themselves well, right? Let's say the wife will say, I love you, honey. You know what's the man respond? I do. You know, very, very little, very less expressive. That sometimes is the nature of men may not want to be expressive too fast. So, to me, boys, if number 1 is the father has to be there because sometimes they look for the recognition of the father. Michael Jackson, late Michael, has a big problem because of the father. The father really, really point out that he has a big nose. So that's why the relationship. So fathers being, first thing you have to do is to accept your son and then be able to communicate with them in the manner that you do not impose and exercise your authority too fast, too soon. One of my son, he doesn't like to wear formal clothes like me. He likes to have round collared t-shirt. And I keep on hammering him. How come you're not wearing? Why are you? So what happened? Every time that the discussion happened, I raised that issue of him not wearing a proper clothes. Now, what happened is that slowly these boys, they shy away. I had to change the way I communicate, and I step back and say, look, if I continue doing whatever I'm doing now, this boy is not going to see me during the next Hari Raya or whatever event, because every time he meets me, I will have an issue with him. I change. First, don't do what you think you have been trying to do. So reduce that and build the relationship. Because what are you trying to gain with either boys or girls is their trust. But before you gain their trust, there's one particular area that you have to do. Build rapport. How do you build rapport? By start doing the small things that would slowly build their trust to you and feel comfortable with you. So when the time for dinner, instead of yelling, so I go and see them in a voice which I've not done before. I said, can we have dinner together? So it was dark and I switched on the light while he was studying. And that shows that I am wanting to be close to him. And what happened is a couple of weeks then, I overheard, eavesdrop, when he was saying to the other younger siblings, you know what? Dad has changed. They see you. So I wanted to take this simple opportunity. I don't have a magic formula. But one thing for sure, every child I will spend time to. Every report card day, unless I'm overseas, I will be there with Jamila. I will sit together with the teachers, and when we come back home, they knew that they are going to see me and Jamila together for feedback. And you know what is the first thing that I will do? If your son and child comes back with A, and then C, what was your first reaction? So which means I prove to you all fathers or all parents around the world will just point out the same thing. Whether you're Pakistan or wherever. No, the child is saying, Dad, Mom, is it, can you see the A's? I mean, they didn't say it, but they felt that. So the first thing I will do is recognize the A. It's okay whether it's arts or history or whatever it is, recognize this, that they have achieved something. Although deep in your heart you want to whack the D and E's or all the stuff that he's not doing well. Hold on, hold your horses. Recognize these good points, good job. Now, when it comes to the B's and C's and things, and you ask them, why is it? What happened? And do not compare again now with someone. Your sister was doing very well in the same teacher. It doesn't help. Now you can compare him with himself. You did good in your geography last semester. I mean, you're comparing like a golfer comparing the handicap. And then the third one, then you start to say, okay, what's happening to these D's and E's or things which one you say? And I bet you, the tone of your voice, the way you say it, the body language, all of this is a package deal for the child that you're communicating. And if you show sincerity, I have 100% guarantee that they will open up to you. Your second question.
Let me answer that question first about how to make your kids open up to you. The thing is that when the kids are very young, who speaks a lot? Mom speaks a lot, and the kids, once they pick up language, they speak a lot too, isn't it? Sometimes to the extent where, can you please be quiet? Because there are just so many questions. But that is the best time, actually, to talk to them. But the more they grow up, the less they talk. Girls, even girls who people say, okay, girls talk a lot, but to their parents, not necessarily so. Maybe they will talk a lot to their friends, but not necessarily to their parents. So one of the secrets of encouraging children, especially the teenagers, to open up is that to know how to respond. And to know how to respond doesn't mean that, number one, you're giving them a lecture, no. Secondly, no long sentences, but it could be a matter of acknowledging whatever they say. Oh, really? Oh, I see. You know, in terms of your facial expressions, it could be just something that sends them, oh, I'm really interested to know about this. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. You see? And that is so precious to them, actually. It doesn't necessarily mean that they want you. They want us to jump in and rescue them. No. But as they speak, as they share their thoughts, they are actually clarifying their thoughts so that they make better decisions. But most, like again and again, is back to, I love them so much, I'm afraid they're going to do this, do that. How are they going to learn to think for themselves and to make decisions? It starts from making small decisions, isn't it? And it gets bigger and bigger. And the best thing about that is that when we behave that way, when we act that way, their confidence builds up. The trust builds up. You know, for teenagers, especially for older children, it feels so good to be trusted, to know that your parents will listen to you, will respect you for your decisions. But of course, we don't want them to make such a big mistake that becomes fatal. No. But within reason, the mistakes that are within reason. That's one. And I still remember the day one of my boss actually came to ask me something very serious. And this is something your children will likely experience. He said, Omi, I have something to tell you. And from the look of his face that I knew it's something serious. He said, so I pushed away all my work and just sat with him. And he said, there is this girl that I can't stop thinking about. It's a crush. What do I do with? I mean, I open the books, I study, I see her. I do this, I still see her. All right? It's a problem of adolescence. So do I tell him, you know, it's haram, right? No. They already know it's haram. But how to deal with these emotions? Once you say it's haram, they go out of the room and I don't know what to do with this. All right? So what I did was, I sat down with him for 45 minutes and explained to him the brain changes for an adolescent. Why is it something that I have never experienced before? All right? That was something that he asked me. So I tell him, and why Islam says that you cannot be going out together. Because there are certain hormones that you are undergoing, that is being released by the brain. And there is this push and pull factor. And you have to do it matter-of-fact way. That means you're not, so full of worry. No. It sends them a message that I'm here to support you. I know it because I have gone through it myself. And this is Allah's way of preparing you to become a man, a father, a husband. All right? It's a natural process. But maybe you cannot help the emotions that you are experiencing, but what matters most is what you do about these emotions, right? And the other question is about ambition. Yes, 1 minute. As parents, our job is to guide our children. We want them to become gifts to humanity. That is our number one job. And the Muslim identity must be as solid as possible. Number one, we have to show that we are very proud Muslims, all right? Proud in the sense that we will not choose anything else except Islam itself, right? Secondly, to guide them to their career options. And that means taking the time, perhaps, because we don't know what our children have been exposed to. Maybe they are into jobs that offer popularity, fame, or something. We do not know, all right? So reality, myth, fact, and fiction, they cannot tell the difference. So we need to expose them to different careers and perhaps even bring the children when they are ready to people. Okay, you are interested in engineering? Come, let me introduce you to Uncle so-and-so, so that he can explain to you the nature of the job. And of course, going to college is something different from the nature of the job itself, right? So if you choose your profession blindly, you might regret for the rest of your life, right? When my daughter wanted to do medicine, I said, I'm not a doctor. You need to talk to your cousins. And you need to go into this with your eyes open because this is not something you can do by and by. So after she has done her research, she still decided to become a doctor. So she has to be responsible for it. I hope that helps.
Okay, we end. Just wanted to share these final 2 slides. First is the books that we have. Okay, we didn't bring a lot. It's now sold at 15 ringgit, $15, part of fundraising. So that's number one. If you do need more references, so Dr. Reza Bashir in this book, Raising Parenting in the West, is a good book that we read. Family Dawn is their website, Family Dawn. Then this is again our contacts. So catch us in our Cool Mom Super Dad Facebook. And inshallah, we wish you all the best. We make dua that Allah will support you, will provide you with the strength to raise your children to become the leaders for the future. Wa jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for Puan Jamila and Mr. Ahmad. So I know, like, if ladies and gentlemen, like, you still would like ask questions, feel free to come up to Puan Jamila and Mr. Ahmad at dinner time from 18:30 to 8 at this room, Interlochen A and B, and I do believe you can meet them in the front row. Again, big applause to Puan Jamila and Mr. Ahmad.